Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had such a great time last week there at Living Word in Minneapolis. Hungry people got into end times a little bit. That was so fun. And then did the podcast for Brother Hammond. It's so fun. He's got Pastor Jim's got an amazing podcast. I'll get you the info on it this next week and give you the date it's going to air. So he gets into a little bit of everything. So we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, specifically the gathering of nations for the Ezekiel 38 war, because the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So we want to see about where we are based on that war, and boy, everything is heading toward that completely so fast. So why do we get into end times? You hear people say, well, what's the need for this? Well, when you see the finish line, you run faster, not slower. It's not an escape theology, it's a hustle theology. Jesus is about to come back, and I've never seen a runner in a race look at the finish line and go, I don't know what that is. No, you know exactly what the finish line is. So the Scripture gives us all this information to show us how close we are. A third of the Bible is prophecy. For every one verse there is about the first coming of the Lord, there's 8 times more about the second coming. So the Lord wanted us in position. All of this is about getting into position, doing what we're supposed to do, get as many people born again as we can, because this is harvest season on max. So let's pick up with what's happened around the earth this last week. Probably one of the wildest things is the eclipse. It's intriguing. You hear about different things about it over and over and over again. And really, it's just 7 years ago when that first one came through, it went through 7 towns called Salem. This time, when it came through 7 years later, it went through 7 towns named Nineveh. It's all about repentance. Everybody's freaking out like, what's this all about? I was blessed to see that you had an earthquake, 4.8 on the Richter scale, on 4.8 there in New Jersey. Also, the crisscross of this in the Crossroads of America, when it happened right through the Crossroads of America, was exactly 3 p.m. in the afternoon, the exact time that Jesus died on the cross. So people say, what is this? What's going to happen? It's just like the blood red moons. They're indicators. They're signals. It doesn't mean when you turn your signal on your car, that means you're about to turn. It doesn't mean you're turning, you're about to turn. You're indicating you're getting ready to turn. These things are showing us that some stuff's getting ready to happen. So in 1811, what happened was you had massive earthquakes to the point that the Mississippi River started flowing backwards. Then you had the War of 1812, and then you had the White House burned down. So I'm not saying that's all going to happen, but these are indicators that God's so kind. He's got these signals, and really they're for people kind of the Old Testament. Why is that? Because we're about to enter into 7 years of Old Testament time, and that's what the book of Revelation is all about. The tribulation period is 7 years of Old Covenant time that God owes Israel. We don't have to be here for that because we've already gotten born again. So let's pick up with what's happened around Israel. There's all this stuff happening in the heavens, along with the devil comet, the blood red moon, the 3 days before, all that. So it's all happening. But Israel had a massive strike in Syria last night, took out Hezbollah as one of their manufacturing plants. And that was amazing how precise they can be. Remember last week, they took out 2 of the main generals there in Damascus. What I was intrigued about was no one got hurt in the building beside it and the building beside it. That's what Israel's so amazing at. Even today, our defense secretary said there's no evidence at all of war crimes in Israel. And then you have everyone crying all over the earth, oh, it's Israel, 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 Israel. I finally heard something from this administration, from Secretary of State Blinken. He said, where are the people crying out about Hamas? Where are the people? There's total world silence about Hamas started this and tried to kill Israelis. So it's so weird that in Toronto, you have pictures of the hostages, babies and hostages, kids, hostages up on posters, and they get defaced every night with swastikas put on them like this is what they deserve. It's exactly that same spirit from Hitler in World War II. So you have a lot of that going on. You had incursions in the northern part of Israel. You got Israel getting ready from attack from the north. You had Iran's foreign minister say these are going to be very tough days for Israel. Today, the Bloomberg report came out and said it looks like there's going to be a massive missile strike on Israel that's imminent. So you've got Israeli forces kind of getting ready for this, getting all the Iron Dome stuff ready for it. You even had, amazing, the Iron Dome's so amazing, you had the Iron Dome on a ship take out a ballistic missile coming from the Houthis in Yemen. So they keep firing at ships over and over again. You had another cargo vessel run out of power and almost hit another bridge. Now this is getting a little weird because that movie about Obama, that's the first thing they show happening is a cargo ship ramming a bridge. So there's a lot of intricate parts happening all over in every single area of what's going on. So we're just blessed to have all this stuff mentioned in the Bible. And Jesus said, when you see these things, lift up your heads. Your redemption draweth nigh. So he wants you expectant and happy. He doesn't want you sad. He doesn't want you bummed out. He wants you, the joy of the Lord is your strength. All these things are because he loves us so much. He's not mad at you, not frustrated with you. He loves you. He wants you supernaturally excited. I remember when Colleen and I got married, it would have been weird if I looked over at her and she's all bent over going, oh my God, I'm about to marry that guy. No, that wouldn't be good. And the Lord wants us excited because we're about to see the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Amazing, we're about to go from faith to sight. So many things are happening. The Gaza ceasefire, Israel keeps putting out great opportunities for Hamas to do this. They keep turning them down every single time. And every single time it looks like Israel is getting ready to push more and more aid into Gaza when they get condemned by not doing enough aid. I like this. Nancy Pelosi got mentioned in several newspapers this last couple of days saying, if you cut back arms to Israel in a war, that's tantamount to betrayal. When the Wall Street Journal is rebuking people on the left, let me tell you, Jesus is just about to come. But that's what that is. Here, our nation is set up to bless Israel, and you got them rejecting pleas for more help. A big cache of weapons was taken over to the Ukraine to help fight Russia. Also, it looks like Iran has basically completely furnished enough weapons in the West Bank for a 2-year war. That just came out yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. In the Jerusalem Post. So all these things are happening because Jesus is about to come back. So we always go back to the scriptures. What do we look at? Israel made a nation. Jerusalem went back. Jesus said the generation that sees those two events won't pass away till all is fulfilled. So you have those two, then you got the Hebrew language restored, you got the Ethiopian Jews brought back, you got the fertility of the land of Israel, you got the revival of the Roman Empire, you got foxes showing up on the Temple Mount, fish showing up in the Dead Sea, the Dead Sea turning blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was last fall, on the Day of Atonement. Absolutely amazing. You had the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water, first time in 2,000 years. You had Russia rebuild the archway for Baal worship there in Palmyra. That's where the Tower of Babel was. The Talmud said that's the last sign you'll see before the coming of the Messiah. So it's in our face. I mean, one thing after another. Sign, 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 sign. The History Channel talking about Bishop Malachi in the year 1129 AD. He had a vision, saw the coat of arms for every pope that would be on the earth. The History Channel said that's statistically impossible. Only a God can do that. That's exactly right. He got the popes 114 out of 114. That's the last one we have right now. So it's all happening. You got big Saharan dust storm coming over Europe this week. You got earthquakes in Indonesia. So all those other signs are just sign after sign after sign showing us how close we are. You got men will be lovers themselves. You have selfie sticks. You have predatory birds. 172 different species of predatory birds started showing up in the land. And you got the cleanup crew there. So it's all these groups are in position. Russia's in position. The Temple Mount Institute is in position. I was just up on the Temple Mount this last week during Ramadan. I still can't believe we got to get up there. But the Institute is ready to start having sacrifices. In fact, there was a formal application made about having sacrifices on the Mount of Olives. So I hope you watch a little further to get into that, because I'll talk about that some next week. But a formal application to do sacrifices. And there's so much stuff about the red heifers showing us where we are to where they need to be used right away. So sign after sign after sign after sign. And then you go to signals. You had the blood red moons 4 in a row on Passover and Tabernacles. That's remarkable. NASA calls that a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 blood red moons in a row on Passover and Tabernacles? 1967 when Jerusalem won back, 1948 when Israel was made a nation, and 1492 at the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. So remarkable, having those on those exact dates with Israel. Then after that, you've got the Bethlehem star. You got Jupiter, Regulus, Venus coming together at the birth of Jesus. The constellation was Virgo. I mean, pretty radical how, if you get into everything about that, it's just the information is overwhelming. But this last year, you had NBC Nightly News, so we have a celestial event. You got Jupiter, Regulus, and Venus coming together. Bethlehem star, first time in 2,000 years. I love it that the constellation was Leo. He's the lion of the tribe of Judah. So this is it. I mean, everybody goes, wow, what's getting ready to happen? I think when the war is going to get worse and worse and worse to where Israel starts crying out for the Messiah, and then all of a sudden a man shows up with the perfect answers, but actually it's the Antichrist. So you're seeing the setup for all of this each exact piece when it comes to finances, when it comes to monetary system, when it comes to world religion, when it comes to all the things getting in a position, they're all there right now. Why? We're about to see the King. So what do? Help our local church, help our local pastor, be involved, be engaged. You don't fit church into your life. It is your life. Why? We're about to see the King. Just think about that. Just think about that. The one who died for you, the one who God raised from the dead, who's coming back as majestic King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He'll stand right there on the Mount of Olives, and he'll go right into the valley of Megiddo, and he'll quote the word, I am the root of Jesse. I am the first and the last. I am the resurrection and the life. I'm the brightness of the glory of God. That's our King. We're about to see him. Man, have a blessed week. We'll come back this next week and see what's happening with Iran. Man, pray for those in Israel that the Iron Dome and the David's slingshot works like it should, because it looks like in the next few days they're going to get a barrage of missiles. So have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bless you.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.